So, have you noticed that Marvel Legends is kind of changing its strategy? We are getting more and more figures based on video games. Well, why is this, and what does this reflect with the future of Marvel Legends? Well, let's dive in here on Spector Creative. Hey, good morning and welcome back to the channel. I'm Toy Guru Neitlich, your host on Spector Creative, lifelong collector and toy maker, giving this channel a bit of a unique voice on the internet. Today, going to talk about Marvel Legends and the current strategy with Hasbro. Now, Hasbro actually just let go the head of Marvel Legends, which is unfortunate because when you've had someone who's been running it since 2013, well, you have a lot of continuity. I kind of know what this is like. I saw this happen at Mattel all the time, and Hasbro is no different. So we'll have to see how that affects now that the person driving the bus is no longer there. And by the way, was not let go for any other reason than mass layoffs. This was not like suddenly they wanted to get rid of him. A great guy. Unfortunate. I hope he lands on his feet because I really appreciate everything that the team gave to us in the past few years. I thought it had great leadership. So what's going on now, if you see with Marvel Legends, everything from their fall 2025 lineup to their San Diego Comic-Con items are themed for video games. And this is an interesting kind of loophole. Why do I call it that? So, well, for starters, one thing that theming figures for video games gives you is kind of a blank slate, because you can release, it's an excuse to release all of the major characters. So you'll notice, like in the Capcom versus Marvel, which is really just Marvel versus Marvel, there's no Capcom figures. That's kind of the theme of their fall 2025 lineup. They've done this, they meaning Hasbro, for the past few years, where every fall they have had kind of a different theme to release main characters for the holidays. So a few years ago, it was Marvel's 80th, and then they had, Avengers 60th, so on and so on. It's basically a themed program that gets anniversaried each year in order to bring out main characters and a rational reason to do so. So this year, they are turning to video games. And while that might seem like, well, wait a minute, not everyone plays video games, if you look at, basically revenue between the video game industry and the movie industry, it's not even close. Video games destroy the movie industry. There are way more people playing video games than there are watching movies theatrically. So they are definitely aiming at a larger audience with video game-based figures. Now, granted, these are video games from 20, 30 years ago, but obviously they have a nostalgia kick. Now, the reverse of this is why they're pulling away from live action. You'll notice that we barely got any action figures for the live action movies this year. Thunderbolts, Captain America 4, Fantastic Four. We basically got, for Fantastic Four, we got one wave of figures, no comic book figures. For Thunderbolts, we got like 2 box sets of 2-packs. And for Captain America, we got 3 figures. So no wave, it was 3 deluxe figures. You had Cap, Falcon, and Red Hulk, which was just the Green Hulk repainted. That's Mark Rufio's head, not Harrison Ford. So, yeah, more's the pity. Okay, so, yeah, obviously the entertainment, we know, has not been succeeding the way it did in the first 10 years of the Marvel Universe. It's kind of getting a little long in the tooth, especially because they've lost their main, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor anchored the Marvel Universe, and now we're kind of dealing without them. I know Thor's still around, and Steve Rogers is coming back, and Iron Man is now Dr. Doom, but people are just not getting on board with, Ironheart and, She-Hulk, and it just, all of these Disney Plus and Thunderbolts, and nothing is working now. So Hasbro clearly has pivoted to a different medium to base their figures on, and video games work great because they almost always are the main characters. You don't see a video game with Darkhawk or Sleepwalker in it, right? You always get Captain America, Venom, Wolverine, Iron Man, etc., or variants of them, like War Machine is an Iron Man variant, or U.S. Agent is a Captain America variant. Not to us, but to the public and to retailers. They'll see U.S. Agent, they'll be like, okay, that's Captain America for the kids. Or, again, War Machine. They'll just be like, okay, that's an Iron Man. Obviously, we know they're different characters. Retail doesn't care. They just want characters that sell and remind kids of the main characters. So when you have, Namor and Moon Knight and, characters that kids have never really heard of, or the movies that they're in aren't huge rating smashers, well, if people aren't watching the content, they're not buying the toys. So it makes sense to have a shift to video games. Not only, again, giving you the A-list characters, but a chance to do sort of slightly different versions. I'm glad they're not doing pixelated figures or any kind of, when they did those animation cell washes a couple years ago, which you can take off with nail polish remover and a little water. As long as you wash the figure after to get the chemical off, it will wipe off those darn cell shade marks. But the other interesting takeaway from looking at the themed video games, and even their Comic-Con set is from a video game, which I've never even heard of that video game or played it, but I'm excited to get the characters. So that's the other thing to look at, is how this is now going to affect future pricing. So if you look at the Marvel Capcom, which is really Marvel versus Marvel figures, they're priced at $60, $59.99, which means you're getting 2 figures for $30. Now, the figures do come with extra blast effects, and I love that they're using the video game and the fact that video games have these natural blast effects to tool up so many more, which is great because now we have these blast effects forever, and once they exist in the tooling bank, we can now redeco them and apply them to all sorts of figures that need blast effects. But if you look at what you're actually getting in the package, so let's look at something like, Captain America versus Venom here, right? So you've got 2 different figures, you've got a blast effect. If you isolate them as individual figures and include the blast effect with the appropriate figure, like in this case it belongs to Captain America here, not Venom, well, you're essentially getting the same amount of toy as a standard Black Series figure, right? Figure, accessories, blast effects, and usually a Build-A-Figure piece. Remove the Build-A-Figure piece, replace it with another blast effect. Either way, you basically have the same value. So again, what's really interesting is with these 2-packs in the fall that are now going to be selling for $59.99, $60, that means a basic figure is essentially $30. Because if you looked at the price points of the multi-packs from a few years ago, like the Avengers 60th, the prices were equivalent. So if you were buying a 2-pack, it was $50. $50, 2 times 25. Now it's $60, 2 times 30. So you can extrapolate from that when you have a multi-pack that can be broken up, just even hypothetically in your mind, into 2 different figures, and it doesn't contain sort of additional accessories to drive that premium price. And I don't think, like this Captain America versus Venom pack, you could sell both those figures individually, and I don't think they would be deluxe figures. They're very they're very standard to Marvel Legends. Minus the Build-A-Figure piece, they're even more standard. So this is definitely a high indication of where prices are going. If the multi-packs are up to $60, it means basic figures are going to reflect that at $30. And $30 for a 6-inch figure. It's definitely going to hurt the wallet, and it's going to cut down on what I buy. I'm glad I have most of what I want. So I love that they're doing this for the kids. I love that it's going to be a way to, get the main characters out there again. I hope that it doesn't shy Hasbro away from making classic comic characters again. I still need, some characters for my Spider-Man shelf, and still waiting for that Feral and Rachel Summers Phoenix for my X-Men shelf. But with the focus not just on video games, but also on kind of like the new versions of characters, some of the rumor lists are really looking at the kind of the current characters in comics, which have very different looks from the classic. So I get why Hasbro is looking at this, because they want to constantly find reasons to get the A-list characters out there. But as a long-term collector, I want them to finish off my collection first before they head off into a new look. So I hope that we still get those classic figures along with the video games and the current look that Hasbro looks like it's turning its eye towards. So stand by. We might be in for another price hike and more A-list characters than we've ever seen before. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. It's the best way to support this channel, and I appreciate it. Again, check out Amazon for all of my awesome history adventure books. You will love them. I wrote them for you guys. I wrote them for this audience. People who, love action adventure movies, and these books read like a movie. You'll read it in one setting. Page turners, I promise. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. I'll see you guys in the next video.